great news out of New Orleans today. The Saints have agreed to terms with former Jesuit Blue Jay, former LSU Tiger, and now former Las Vegas Raider Foster Moreau. Of course, you know that the Saints brought Moreau in for a visit, and on that visit, they discovered that he had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And you hear that, and if you're someone like me who doesn't have any medical background or any real knowledge of that type of thing, it's terrifying. And I'm sure it was terrifying for Foster when he heard it. But according to those who do know and who are involved, the prognosis is very good for Foster Moreau with this Hodgkin's lymphoma. He continues his recovery and continues to fight it, but there's anticipation that he's going to play football this year in the NFL, which to me is incredible and kind of hard to believe. But it's fantastic news for him, and this is fantastic news for everybody involved because the Saints are in desperate need of solid tight end play, and Foster is very much that. We remember him as the guy who got one of the last spots on in LSU's class, and a guy who was a phenomenal player here, wore number 18, was a productive player, certainly knows how to block, and was a threat in the receiving game. Raiders brought him in, and he's been good for them, for Derek Carr. But you look at this Saints roster, and I think they had a lot of high hopes for what Adam Troutman could become, and it just never materialized at all. And you've kind of hit on a flyer here on Juwan Johnson, who's not really a tight end, but certainly has been productive for you. But he's kind of one-dimensional. He's a wide receiver who's playing tight end because he's bulked up. Foster Moreau is a tight end. And you figured that the Saints were going to draft somebody to be a tight end. The rounds keep coming by, and I didn't have any problem with them drafting a defensive lineman, drafting another defensive lineman, going to get a playmaking potential wide receiver late in the draft. I don't have a huge issue with. Quarterback can take it or leave it. I don't think it's a terrible decision. But they never addressed tight end as the picks kept rolling through. And then Troutman's like, I'm out of here. And they traded him. So now you're looking at the roster going, well, they don't really have any tight ends. That's a problem. And Foster is a perfect fit because he is very capable of standing in there and blocking at the NFL level, and he is very capable of being productive in the receiving game. And he understands Derek Carr. They've played together, have a strong relationship, and I think it's fantastic. I don't know if he's going to play in preseason games. I don't know if he's going to play week 1. I don't know if he's going to play week 7. I don't know what exactly this prognosis is, but you have read enough, and there are enough people that are speaking on it saying, yes, we expect to see him this year. So, look, I got to think, as far as roller coasters go, in the span of this short a time of 3 months, to hear, hey, man, you got Hodgkin's lymphoma, to, hey, man, here's $8 million guaranteed, that has got to feel really good. And, oh, by the way, it's from the hometown team. And Foster grew up in New Orleans, played for the home state in college, and now he'll get a chance to play for the home state in the NFL, which is very, very cool. And it's just an even better story. If you see the picture that Beck's rolling behind me here, he's got the Defend Team Gleason shirt on with the No White Flags logo. And I'm again, like, floored at how quickly this materialized. But there's so many layers to it, from the Saints medical team being the one to catch this, to the draft going the way that it did as Foster steps back for a second from football, to Adam Troutman demanding to be out of town and this gaping hole in the roster that, oh, by the way, can be filled by a guy who's, one, from the city, and two, who owes a little bit of gratitude to your medical team for catching this in a physical. It's such a cool story, and I think one that's going to have an awesome, awesome ending. I like the Saints offense. I think the offensive line is solid. We'll see what Penning gets you. I think that your quarterback is solid, if unspectacular. I said what I said about the Derek Carr signing. It to me limits the ceiling, but certainly makes you a better team than you would have been without him this year. You address some needs at wide receiver over the last 2 drafts, and now you filled the hole at tight end. Plus, you got a new running back, one in free agency and one in the draft. the offense looks good to me. Defense, I got to see what this defensive line looks like. Got 2 free agents right in the middle of it, and a couple of draft picks you're going to count on with some of the role players, and then of course your stalwart and Cam Jordan. DeMario still got some in the tank there at linebacker. Got to stay healthy there, and then secondary is what it is. But this was a huge hole. There's no denying that. And I think they thought they had their perfect fit until they didn't because of the diagnosis. And now you come back a couple of months later, and he re-signs on the dotted line. So super, super story for Foster Moreau. I told this story a couple of months ago, so I'm not going to tell the whole thing again. But I just think it's a funny story of me personally in dealing with Foster's family. Foster's younger sister babysat for my cousin. And she was there babysitting at my cousin's house, and I went down to New Orleans to attend a wedding, and my cousin wasn't there, but I was showering, getting ready at their house, and I got ready, and I had 45 minutes to go before I left for the wedding, and Foster's sister was on the couch as she was babysitting the 2 infants. And we were watching a football game, and she says something about this big lineman who picked up a fumble and said, man, that guy looks huge. And so I said something like, yeah, I mean, I actually covered college football for a couple of years, and like you really honestly you don't see guys this big really ever. I mean, they're massive, massive people when you see them, out and about. And she's like, oh yeah, my brother, he played at LSU. I was like, really? Who was it? Figuring it was some, walk-on that I never heard of that, played football at LSU. Like, Foster Moreau. I was like, oh, that's sticking your foot in your mouth right there. You're telling her how you never see guys like this in public. She grew up with one. You're an idiot. That's the gist of that. Awesome story for Foster Moreau. Awesome story for the Saints. And I think it's going to be a very, very happy ending for those two with the length of this contract.